Good afternoon, students. Welcome back to our spectroscopy class. In last lecture, we discussed about molecular spectroscopy and its introductory part. After that, we discuss electromagnetic spectra and different regions in a electromagnetic spectra. Now, today we are going to discuss some theoretical aspects related with a molecular spectra, in which we discuss rotational spectroscopy, vibrational spectroscopy and electron spectroscopy one by one. Today my aim is to understand or to discuss a rotational spectroscopy. When we talk about the theory of a molecular spectra, unlike atom in which the quantization of energy results only from the interaction of the electrons. Okay, when we are talking about the atom, in that case quantization of energy arises only due to the interaction of an electron with the nucleus and with other electron. The quantization of molecular energy level and the resulting absorption or emission of radiation involving these energy levels, which encompasses several mechanisms. In theory, there is no clear separation of the different mechanism, but in practice their difference in magnitude allow their characterization to be examined independently using the diatomic molecule as a model. Each category of energy will be examined, means in rotational energy level, in vibrational energy level and electric energy level. So, in rotational spectroscopy we are going to discuss rotational spectra of a diatomic molecule, derivation with classical treatment, after that spectral energy level diagram, selection rule for rotational spectra, isotopic substitution effect on a spectra. So, first we will discuss some introductory part of rotational spectra. What is by rotational spectra? First of all, actually a rotational spectra is concerned with the measurement of the energies of transition between the quantized rotational state of molecule. Once again, rotational spectra is concerned with the measurement of the energy transmission between the quantized rotational state of molecule in the gas phase. Okay, this is nothing but a rotational spectra, a simply transition between the quantized rotational states. So, the spectra of a polar molecule, can be measured in absorption or emission, and emission by microwave spectroscopy or in far infrared spectroscopy for polar molecule. The rotational spectra of non-polar molecule cannot be observed by those methods, but we can observe and measure using a Raman spectroscopy. For a non-polar, we have to use a Raman spectroscopy. For a polar, we can use microwave spectroscopy or far infrared spectroscopy. The rotational spectra is sometimes referred to as a pure rotational spectroscopy. A rotational spectroscopy is sometimes referred to as pure rotational spectroscopy. To distinguish it from a rotational vibrational spectroscopy, the combination of rotational vibration spectroscopy, where change in rotational energy occurs together with change in vibrational energy, and from rotational to vibrational spectroscopy, where the rotational, vibrational and electrical energy changes occur simultaneously. So, these three different spectroscopy, rotational, vibrational and electron spectroscopy, are interrelated with each others. Okay, how? That we have to discuss in this topic. So, rotational spectroscopy, for rotational spectra we required a molecule. Spectroscopy in the microwave region is concerned with the study of rotating molecule, study of a rotating molecules. Only molecules that have a permanent dipole moment can absorb or emit electromagnetic radiation in such a transition. Okay. In the rotation of HCl, it is a non-polar. One is hydrogen and another is chlorine. That's why it was a non-polar molecule. We can observe with the help of Raman spectroscopy. In the rotation of HCl, fluorescence seen to be exactly similar to the fluctuating electric field of radiation. In the rotation of HCl, fluctuations seen to be exactly similar to the fluctuation in an electric field of radiations. Thus, the interaction can occur, energy can be absorbed or emitted by the rotation, gives rise to a spectra. The interaction can occur, the energy can be absorbed or emitted, and the rotational gives rise to a spectra. This is some introductory part of rotational spectra. Now we have to discuss that rotational spectra with the help of diatomic molecule. So the next point is pure rotational spectra of a diatomic molecule. Pure rotational spectra in a diatomic molecule. So before starting that, we must know about this rotational energy levels. It means what? Pure rotational spectra of a diatomic molecule. In the gas phase, molecules are relatively far apart compared to their size and are free to undergo rotations around their axis. That's why if a diatomic molecule is assumed to be a rigid, it means what? Internal vibrations are not to be considered in rotational motion. So, a composed of two atoms of masses m1 and m2 separated by a distance capital R, it can be characterized by a moment of inertia, which is I is equal to m1 mu into r square, where mu is the reduced mass, which is equal to m1 m2 by m1 plus m2, m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2. So where j is a rotational quantum number that can be have values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. If we see this figure, a center of mass around which two rigid objects are rotating, in which m1 is the mass of first rotating object and m2 is the mass of second rotating object. m1 is at a distance r1 from the center of mass and m2 is at a distance of r2 from the center of mass, and these two objects are separated by a distance capital R. Therefore, moment of inertia I is equal to mu r square, where r is the reduced mass, which is equal to m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2, where mu is the reduced mass. So, we will discuss its classical treatment. Let us consider two atoms having masses m1 and m2 and fixed bond length r. The center of gravity is find m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2, m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2. For rigid rotations, r is equal to r1 plus r2, r is equal to r1 plus r2. So, from equation 1, r2 is equal to m1 r1 divided by m2. Put this value in equation 2, r2 is equal to m1 r1 divided by m2. So, r is equal to r1 plus r2, where r2 is equal to m1 r1 divided by m2. By talking LCM, r is equal to m1 r1 m2 r2 divided by m2 divided by m2. From this we can find out its rigid rotation. Down this equation, where we are considering the center of gravity is m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2 is fixed. Center of gravity is fixed, that's why m1 r1 is equal to m2 r2. For rigid rotation, r is equal to r1 plus r2. From equation 1, r2 is equal to m1 r1 divided by m2. If you put this value, therefore r is equal to r1 plus m1 r1 divided by m2. By taking LCM, r is equal to m1 r1 plus m2 r1 divided by m2. So r is equal to r1 into m1 plus m2 divided by m2. Therefore r is equal to m2 r divided by m1 plus m2. Similarly, we can find out the r2. Therefore r2 is equal to m1 r divided by m1 plus m2. As we know that the moment of inertia I is equal to m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square. If we substitute the value of r1 and r2, therefore moment of inertia I is equal to m1 into m2 r by m1 plus m2 whole bracket square plus m2 into m1 r divided by m1 plus m2 whole bracket square. If we rearrange this equation, if we separate the square term, it becomes a m1 m2 square r2 square plus m1 square m2 r2 square divided by m1 plus m2 square, m1 plus m2 square. Denominator is same, that's why we can add numerator terms. It gives m1 m2 r square in bracket m1 plus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 whole bracket square. Numerator one term, that is m1 plus m2, get cancelled with denominator term. Therefore I is equal to m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2 r square, where mu is equal to m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2 is mu is nothing but a reduced mass. Mu is nothing but a reduced mass. Therefore I is equal to mu r square. I is equal to mu r square, where mu is the reduced mass. It gives mu is equal to m1 plus m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2. So is there any doubt up to this equation? The remaining part of this derivation we will discuss in next lecture. Thank you.